as a health research organization, we want to see more organizations start like ours. We'd love that. The more health research organizations there are, the faster we're going to find out how we can really, truly end aging.
Welcome to the Siim Lund podcast. I'm your host Siim Lund, and today our guest is Alan Graves. Alan is the CEO of DoNotAge.org. Do Not Age is my favorite longevity supplement company that provides research-backed compounds that extend health span, such as spermidine, NMN, TMG, calcium, alpha-ketoglutarate, etc. For this month, you can get a free copy of my book Metabolic Autophagy if you use the code SIIM for making an order at Do Not Age that includes NMN. All you need is either the NMN capsules or powder in your purchase, with or without the other supplements. So head over to DoNotAge.org and use my code SIIM, S-I-I-M, to get 10% off all the Do Not Age products, as well as the Metabolic Autophagy ebook.
Hi, Siim. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, it's good to talk with you again, and it's been almost like a half a year or something since the last time we talked. And since that, there has been a lot of new research coming out about the different compounds that you provide, and before we get into that, maybe what's been new with Do Not Age as a company as a whole, and what products have you been releasing recently?
So there's a lot of new things going on at the moment. So I think last time we spoke about the spermidine. We're looking at launching a version that's gluten-free, because obviously at the moment we're sourcing it from wheat germ, and there are still some people that don't like consuming wheat. There's some celiacs, etc. So we are looking at trying to do that, and we hope that within just a few months we'll be able to make that a reality. So that's one thing we've been working on. Obviously there's a ton of research, which is what I work on most of the time now. I'm in the Middle East at the moment, having meetings about that. So that's really exciting. I've just finished a month in the USA as well, doing similar things. So there's lots of research in the pipeline. We can go into that during the podcast if you want. And what else? Oh, we do have a new product coming out as well. So obviously, you know that the vast majority of research doesn't result in an ingredient that we launch, because we only choose the ones that have the highest health impact. And we decided on collagen peptides because it's absolutely proven in humans the benefits that collagen peptides have. So that one will be coming out probably at the end of August of 2022.
That's pretty interesting there. Like a collagen is like a powder or capsules, or how do you think about it?
Yeah, so unfortunately with collagen, if you take it in capsule form, it doesn't get absorbed in the same way. So it does have to be a powder for that one, which I understand is tricky for some people because people like the ease of a capsule, which I completely understand. And if we could do it, we would, but obviously we have to look at the health outcome as the main priority.
Okay, well, that's awesome. I do like collagen as well, and the powder is I guess it's fine. You can mix it with stuff. And the spermidine, does it have a celiac response for people who are allergic to wheat, even if you have if it's just sourced from wheat germ, if you take it as a supplement, will it still have any effect?
Yeah, that's right. So obviously a celiac is an allergy. So definitely don't go near anything that's come from wheat germ for that. In terms of people with a slight gluten intolerance, they tend to be okay with our current spermidine product, but obviously it's still something they have to be wary of. So we're just trying to create it so we can cover all bases.
Gotcha. And where's the next one come from? What's the other source that you choose?
So we're working on that at the moment. But again, anyone that's on the email list will get all the information on there. But we don't want to say too much before we don't want to run before we can walk.
Okay. Right. Well, I don't know what it's going to be like, but if I were to guess, then spirulina or something like that.
We shall see.
Okay, we shall see. All right. Are there any new studies that have come out? Let's say, the biggest one probably that you, the biggest supplement that you probably have is NMN, if I'm not mistaken.
That depends if you're looking at all time or whether you're looking at the last few months. So the last few months it would be SIRT6 activator, but all time it would be NMN definitely.
Gotcha. Are there any new studies that have come out about maybe NMN and NAD as a whole?
So there's new studies coming out all the time. I think last time we spoke, which was probably January of this year, We mentioned that there was a lot more human trials in NR than there was NMN. Well, that's now, the balance is starting to tip, which is fantastic. So we're seeing more and more in vivo results in humans. There's new studies coming out all the time, and it's nice to see what we already knew being proven now in the clinical trials. I think the most recent one we've seen is the one that made me smile, because it proved that NMN prevents senescence in retinal cells. So, we see NMN boosted people's eyesight. And if you listen to our previous conversation, one of your questions was around what are the benefits that people taking NMN might notice. And I said, well, one of the common themes in terms of feedback from people taking DoNotAge.org NMN was that our members were seeing an improvement in their eyesight. And then now we see the studies. I think David Sinclair tweeted about it recently. Now we see the studies proving that out, which is fantastic.
That's good to hear. Or I've seen like the animal studies before as well, that it helps with eyesight or reversing like this myopia and decline in eyesight with age. But senescence, so NMN, could it be then like a potential senolytic that helps to clear senescent cells, or is it too early to think about that?
Yeah, I think so. Again, we have to be careful what we say before the science has proven it out, I think. And obviously, some people use the terms senescence and aging interchangeably as well.
Right, that's true. Any like other studies about NMN or NAD, or like what about nicotinamide riboside (NR)? That's also like a common.
Yeah, so there are regular studies coming out about NR, obviously again because of the chromodex link. But I mean, the ones that I tend to know more about in general are the ones obviously that we're responsible for. So, for example, the SIRT6 activator trials that have been going unbelievably well. We have one trial being run by Professor Vera Gorbanova, which showed a huge reduction in the frailty index in just a few months, and it got all of us very excited. Again, always nice when clinical trials prove what we already knew. And Professor Gorbanova spoke to me. She rang me, it must be a month ago now, just over a month ago. Where are we? Yeah, maybe 6 weeks ago. And she doesn't get excited very easily. And she was super excited and said, look, never seen results like this before. I think we should start another trial and put this into cancer patients. So people that have already gone through chemotherapy. And what we believe, if we're correct, is that the recurrence of tumors in the group that are taking SIRT6 activator will be a lot less, or hopefully non-existent, compared to the control group. So obviously, if that proves out to be true, then it's going to be huge. And that trial is just started recently, so very exciting.
Okay, well that's awesome. Like, the SIRT6 activator, no one else has that. I mean, like you're the only company that actually has a product like that has compounds that activate the SIRT6 in humans, and
yes, exactly.
And like that's very interesting in that sense that it's like a novel, let's say a supplement, or not a drug but like a supplement, but what is like besides activating SIRT6, like what is like the mechanisms, or why does it work, or what effects does it have in humans?
Well, I mean, I can tell you about the feedback more than I can talk about the mechanisms, because obviously we know about what SIRT6 does, but in terms of feedback, which I think tends to be more important to most consumers anyway, because they want to know what result it's going to have to them, rather than the features. They want to know the benefits. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, the biggest one we get is energy. People say they feel much more energetic, less lethargic, particularly obviously in slightly older population, sort of 40 and above. And yeah, the main thing that we get is people say, my wellness feels improved. So obviously we do a lot of phone calls, right? So people have been taking the ingredient for 6 months. We'll give them a call and we'll say, hey, how you getting on? Just want to check, make sure everything's okay. How much have you been taking? Ask them about their lifestyle and things like that as well, and diet, etc. And then we're noting down all that feedback anonymously, obviously, but we're noting down all that feedback so that we can get an understanding of how people feel based on it. So that's something that the office in the UK deal with. So they'll be calling out from there. Whereas what I deal with obviously is more the research side. But yeah, so an improved sense of well-being, which is basically an overall feeling of feeling better. And like I say, now the studies are going to slowly but surely prove out what we already know, that it's a hugely beneficial ingredient.
Right. Well, SIRT6 as a gene itself, belonging to the sirtuin family, it does have like I guess the main effect is like DNA repair, that it helps with DNA repair and.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the most likely candidate for most of the benefits, in my opinion. So because of DNA damage is the sort of upstream cause of a lot of downstream symptoms, right? So the DNA repair, and also the fact that it's a huge anti-inflammatory, and inflammation obviously exacerbates most health issues, doesn't it? So between the DNA repair and the anti-inflammatory, I believe that's going to be the main mechanisms for SIRT6.
Mhm. How does it? I mean, sirtuins are also affecting NAD metabolism and like overall energy production from that. So, is there any like link between this SIRT6 and NAD?
Yeah, I mean, so sirtuins are NAD dependent. So if you don't have enough NAD, then the sirtuins can't run properly anyway, which is why, as we see the increase in popularity in SIRT6 activator, we're also seeing an increase in people using NMN, because they're boosting their NAD and then they're activating the sirtuin as well. So I think it was David Sinclair that said about the fuel tank and the accelerated pedal, right?
Right. Yeah. Maybe let's, before we carry on, let's maybe like explain like a brief for people who may not have heard about these things before, like maybe like
Okay.
a simple overview about NAD and yeah.
Sure. So nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, now you can see why we call it NAD, is a coenzyme in every cell of your body. Without it, you would be dead very, very quickly, within a matter of seconds. It's responsible for, I think, over 400 processes in the cell. So you can see it, again, it's about that whole upstream, looking at the upstream causes of issues. And as we age, it's been proven that NAD levels decline quite drastically. And this has then been linked to lots of different age-related diseases as well. So the theory is, if you boost the NAD back to youthful levels, then the rest of the body can function as it did in our youth. And what we're seeing is that does prove out to be true with people that are taking NMN and or NR.
Yeah, yeah. I think that these most of these longevity supplements, like they will have like this health span effect that they will just improve. They will improve your functional health or like functionality as you get older. Like they will prevent or slow down some of that age-related decline that occurs. Like with the SIRT6 activator, it's going to help with the brain side and neurodegeneration and protection against maybe oxidative stress. And with NMN, it's going to be related to like energy metabolism and things related to that, like your metabolic health and insulin sensitivity, which has been proven in humans to improve insulin sensitivity as well. I think obviously there's not going to be these it's not going to be like these supplements that are going to make you live like 100 years old or 150 years old or something. That I don't think there's any supplement out there that we know that could make humans live until 150 years old or something like that. We don't have like any supplements yet, but
I'm quietly confident about the two that we've just been speaking about, NMN and SIRT6 activator, just because obviously I get to see the aggregated data from,
right.
We've got over 100,000 members now, all taking these, and most of them take those ingredients, right? So I am quietly confident that it will extend it, but we're not going to know for obviously a very long time, right? Because, SIRT6 activator is only a year and a half old. NMN's only been popular for 3 years. So the actual full scope human trials we're not going to know for many decades, right. But I am quietly confident.
Yeah, I guess you need to just have all the other things also done perfectly, like the exercise and the diet and the sleep and the stress, those kind of things. So yeah, I mean, they can be for sure, like they can be additional boost in helping you to reach that optimal state, but the foundation has to also be there, like the proper diet.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I think I'm assuming most of the people that watch your channel will already be looking after things like diet, sleep, and exercise. But it's interesting you mentioned stress, because that's one that people tend to miss out, and it does have a really huge negative effect on pretty much all conditions, especially those linked to aging. So if people can try and find ways to control their stress, whether that's just through meditation or however they want to do it individually, then I would definitely recommend that, because that's something that I'm still working on now. And I think the vast majority of people could do with less stress.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And when I think about it, in my own head, and which is based on like, what I read and what I've researched and everything I've exposed to, then yeah, I think that aging itself also goes down to a lot with like just stress and damage, like the higher amount of like physical as well as physiological damage and stress your body experiences throughout your lifetime. Then over the course of time, like the body just slowly wears down, and the ability to recover from it is also gonna go down. So it has to do with a lot just mitigating the damage as well as recovering from it. And with when you're young, your body can very easily recover from that, and you're gonna be fine because your body's own ability, your energy levels are high, and all these antioxidant defenses are also running properly. So it's very easy for you to bounce back fast. With age, you're just the ability to boost those defenses goes also down, and that's where you start to like there's going to be like eventually this kind of tipping point where you reach that your body isn't able to recover and rebound from that damage and everything else you experience, and that's where you get all these age-related diseases and go down like this downward spiral. So it's a lot of kind of balancing the damage.
All aging is damage, isn't it? So it's and like you say, the things that protect us from damage, for example, the 7 sirtuins that we find in humans, they're extremely active when you're young, and then they get less and less active over time. So boosting them back to youthful levels is what we aim to do. It's the same as things like CA-AKG. Obviously, it's the calcium version of AKG, which is, again, a very important molecule in the body. It reduces over time during aging. And so what we try and do is boost it back to youthful levels. So a lot of what we do is boosting things back to youthful levels or reducing them back to youthful levels if they get too high. So for example, CD38.
Yeah. And, funny enough, like exercise, for example, which is very beneficial for anti-aging and longevity, it kind of has a lot of those same effects as these compounds.
It does.
Raise NAD.
It does, but we do find it tends to be in a smaller way though. So for example, exercise boosts your NAD levels. Obviously it does a hell of a lot more than that, but just taking that one example, taking an NMN supplement is going to boost your NAD levels a lot more than exercise ever could. So I think that's where we come in with our interventions, is where we see we can add value. And like, you might be able to exercise your way out of bad NAD levels until you're 30, say, for example. That's just a figure plucked out of the air, by the way. But over time, you're not going to be able to do that. If you were, then we'd see people that were 90 years old that still had perfect NAD levels, because there are older people that have done those kind of exercises all the time. Unfortunately, that's just not the reality, which is where we have to come in with interventions.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like supplementation has a very good place, that it helps you to get back on track fast, and helps you to get out of the trench in that sense. Like if you have low NAD, then it's very hard to get out of bed or to start exercise. Whereas if you use something that kind of shortcuts that a little bit to help you get on track, then obviously it's going to be a good way of going about it, and helps to it's the same with like treating a certain nutrient deficiency. Like if you have a severe magnesium deficiency, then you're maybe not able to sleep properly and you're stressed out all the time, anxious. But if you take a supplement that fixes it in the short term, then you're able to actually fall asleep and recover, and make sure that you don't go into this vicious spiral or feedback loop of not sleeping well and being stressed out about it, and etc., and not sleeping well about it either.
Yeah, and I think magnesium is something that it's a very important one, and it's a good example. But at the same time, it is possible to get enough magnesium from your diet. You would need to eat a lot of salads, but it is possible to do. However, things like NMN, for example, there's no food. I mean, which food has the most NMN in, probably broccoli, I think, from memory. And you'd have to eat, so many kilos of broccoli every day just to get that amount of NMN.
Yeah.
So again, that's where the intervention comes in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, yeah, cabbage, tomatoes, and broccoli or something. But yeah, like,
Yeah, I've got edamame beans in my head as well. I think that was one of the ones that was high in NMN.
yeah, so like, but it's very small, like literally
Yeah,
like 0.0.
high comparative to other foods, not high as in high enough to make a big difference.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I think, yeah, like it's especially great for taking whenever you're, like, I personally take it mostly when I'm let's say under a higher amount of stress or inflammation coming from the environment, like whether that be the sleep side, that I didn't sleep well enough, or I changed time zones, or I need to have like better antioxidant status and just defenses against any kind of oxidative stress. That's where I think the best fit for NMN and these energy boosters comes from. So let's briefly mention like the NMN quality as well, because I think that's still worth mentioning. Once again, we did talk about it in our last podcast, but like most of the NMN that you can buy, like Amazon or something, they don't even have like any NMN at all. So whereas your Do Not Age has actually the NMN in high quantities in their product. So can you like briefly talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So we started it off when we back in 2019. Obviously, part of being in this market is knowing what's already available, and part of our mission to only provide either things that we can increase the quality of or reduce the price if the quality is already at the best it can be. Then, and I think we spoke last time about with the NMN, the reason why we became known for it is because we did both. So we reduced the price and increased the quality when we first launched. And obviously, as part of that, we have to go and see what's already out there and test it and see what. And I was shocked. I was really shocked. I knew the supplement world was murky, but it was, there wasn't a single one that had what it contained. There was a couple that had some, 60%, 80%, but they were claiming 99%. And then there was the vast majority which didn't have any NMN in whatsoever. So obviously reported it to Amazon, spoke to them about it, and they couldn't give a monkeys. They were not interested at all because they were just someone was selling a product on their marketplace, which means they get a cut. So they don't really care about the quality of that product. So, I'm not saying that we will never go on Amazon. Maybe in the future, donotage.org will have an Amazon shop. I don't know. But I think people should just be wary. For myself, for me, I would never buy anything from Amazon that I was going to put into my body, just because I know how Amazon works. And I know exactly how it works as a marketplace. And I think most consumers don't. They think because it's a large company, it's one of the largest companies in the entire world, they assume there's going to be safety nets there that just aren't there. So, and then from our perspective, that's why we just test at every stage. And it's why we introduced the Do Not Age quality guarantee. So the purity is guaranteed to your door wherever you live in the world, because we don't just want to, there are some other companies that will make the product, test it as soon as they've made it, and it's 99% pure, but then it sits on a shelf for 6 months and then gets shipped to a consumer. And then by the time the consumer gets it, it's not 99% anymore. Whereas obviously that's why we guarantee that purity to the door.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Obviously, most of the supplements, I think they'll probably get shipped from like some China or something like that, and there that you didn't even know like if how quality they will send you that product. So you as like whoever like manufacturers or white labels any kind of supplements, then it's kind of up to them to test it first, obviously. But I think like many people may not have the ethics or the principles to actually change anything about it. So even if they see that their product doesn't have any NMN, then they will still sell it because it's wanting to make it like a quick buck or just
exactly. And I think that's why, as a health research organization, we want to see more organizations start like ours. We'd love that, because what are we now, over 3 years old, and we still don't have any competition, which is not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all, because the more health research organizations there are, the faster we're going to find out how we can really truly end aging, and stop all these horrendous age-related diseases. So I think the old style supplement company just out to try and make a profit, not putting anything back into the research, which is, that these companies need to realize that without the research, they wouldn't be able to sell the supplements they're selling. Do you see what I mean? So for me, it's a duty to pay back into the research.
Yeah. And how many research or how many studies do you actively have going on right now?
Oh, we have a lot all the time. So there's multiple, and they're all around the world as well. So I think there's one in Singapore at the moment using our CAAKG, looking at the effect on the microbiome. Obviously, we already know about the anti-frailty, and I think last time we spoke about the reduction in biological age on that study. And so now we're looking at the effect on the microbiome. We've just invested we funded a rapamycin trial. So I hope, that's going to take a few years to find out the results, but that's obviously exciting because that's something that people talk about in the industry. And again, that was something that we're trying to encourage others to do as well, because, if it turns out that rapamycin is beneficial, I don't take rapamycin myself because of the immune suppressant concerns, because it is an immunosuppressant. But that's not to say that we haven't seen some good results so far in some of the animal models. So we funded that rapamycin trial, knowing full well that if it comes to fruition and it shows huge benefits in rapamycin, we're never going to be able to provide that ingredient because it's a pharmaceutical.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, so that's us trying to set an example of trying to do the right thing rather than the profitable thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be excited if there was a commercial rapamycin that you could sell metformin. But yeah, obviously, yeah, it's a more dangerous, not dangerous, but you need to be more careful with that kind of, which is an actual drug. Rapamycin is an actual drug compared to supplements.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think about itself overall? You're not taking it. Would you ever take it or?
Oh yeah, I mean, if the science proved me wrong, then 100% I would take it. I didn't used to take collagen, for example. Now I told you about these the collagen peptides, because sometimes when you look into something enough, or enough new studies come out, you can kind of say, okay, I got that one wrong. And having not being able to change your mind is a very, very dangerous position to be in, because especially with science, because things are always evolving.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I would take it but like I said, I think dosage is going to be the key with rapamycin. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because suppressing your immune system straight away sets off alarm bells, right? But like I say, some of the results in the animal models have been impressive. So we shall see if that carries over to humans.
Yeah, I think periodically, every once in a while, using it can be good, probably in certain situations, but not chronically. Because if you chronically suppress mTOR with rapamycin, then that's gonna slowly waste away your muscle mass and strength as well. So yeah, you do need those things as well for anti-aging.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of balance of how much mTOR you want to suppress and when you do it, etc. If I'm not taking it either, I'm not planning to take it in the future. But if I were to be super geeking out on constructing the best anti-aging routine or strategy, then I would probably include rapamycin in there in some doses every once in a while. So, but yeah, I haven't thought about it that much.
Yeah.
The newest product that was released the last time was a Sulfura Boost, which is a sulforaphane booster, basically. Can you talk about that? What's the research behind that?
Yeah, so I think we've already seen a few people in your from your audience taking Sulfura Boost, which is great. Obviously, I know lots of them are taking SIRT6 activator. I don't know if they're doing it because of the last podcast we had, or whether it's because you're taking them as well. I don't know, but either way, they're starting to see the benefits already, which is great. It's another popular one, Sulfura Boost. So we know it activates NRF2, protects cells from oxidation, activates glutathione, helps with liver detoxification, and it can help prevent DNA damage, which again, as we spoke about earlier, is quite important. And there is some evidence that it deactivates carcinogens like benzene and stuff like that. So that's, I think, where the main benefits come in from sulfur boost.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the glutathione, right, as well from that.
Yeah, like I say, it increases the glutathione, which is super important, and in the brain as well. So if anybody's got any spare time, go and watch Rhonda Patrick talking about that. She's very clued up, and I think she's a big fan of sulforaphane boosting products.
Is she taking it, or do you know?
I don't know, but like I say, there's a lot of high-profile people taking our products. I think the one she talks about is called prostophane. I think she's probably taking that one. But yeah, we've a lot of celebrities taking our stuff, and they'll always use a pseudonym, or if they don't, they make it clear over email that they don't want anyone to know they're taking the ingredients. Not because they're worried about us using it from a marketing perspective, but because they don't want people knowing that they're taking things to try and stay young.
Yeah, right.
Because of that's just how celebrity works, I guess.
Gotcha. Have you changed any of your supplementation recently, or?
Well, in the very recent weeks, I've been mega dosing on NMN because of, I mentioned about I'm in the Middle East at the moment. I've just gone across America. So I flew from where I live in the south of Europe to London. And then from London, I went to Florida, from Florida to Texas, Texas to Montana, Alaska, and then back to Washington State. And then from there to here in the Middle East. And then I'm going to go across another time zone tomorrow. I'm going to Dubai. So yeah, because I've got all these meetings all over the world, it's great. And I love talking about the research and I'm doing the things I love, but at the same time, the body wasn't designed when airplanes were a thing. So I've been mega dosing on NMN, and what I'll do is I'll look ahead to where the time zone I'm going to, and I'll take the NMN as if it was like 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. in that time zone to try and get, because obviously it's so intrinsically linked with the circadian rhythm. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And it's working. It's been working very well. And obviously I've added collagen relatively recently as well. So I'm fortunate I get to get my hands on it before the public.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know, ironic or funny that you travel all the world while preaching or researching about longevity and anti-aging, etc., while damaging your body. Quite serious.
Yeah. I think that quite a lot, especially when I'm struggling for sleep, because I'm a big proponent of quality of sleep. And I also just find that after you've had a good night's sleep, you feel so much better as well. And obviously it's very important from a gym perspective in terms of the rest and repair. But yeah, so I do sometimes chuckle to myself about that as well. It's, I'm telling everybody to do one thing and doing another one. So it's not very fair, but sometimes you have to do things for the greater good. So.
Right. Gotcha. With that NMN, you're probably also stacking it with trimethylglycine, TMG, right?
Yeah, that's right. So whatever I take in NMN, I'll take that at a 1-on-1 ratio with TMG. That's, again, just to provide those methyl donors. You're taking TMG as well, that's right?
Yes, yeah, I'm taking that. I would take it even if I weren't taking the NMN. But
yeah, because it has a ton of benefits. Yeah, we're seeing that a lot as well. Not just with the people from your audience, but pretty much all of our members. We see some people will even take a higher dosage of TMG compared to the NMN just because of the other benefits that TMG can have. So it's always good.
Yeah, well, yeah. Especially if you're eating a high protein diet, I think that it's beneficial to take the TMG to help to lower the homocysteine from the high methionine intakes. Yeah, kind of worth it for that reasons as well.
I agree.
And any CD38 inhibitors that
so for a while I was actually taking 1,000 milligrams of apigenin, and I've reduced that just to 500 milligrams recently. But yeah, I'm taking 500 milligrams, so that's 2 capsules of the pure apigenin product. I take that every day, so it's definitely a good one. I tend to take that later in the day as well, just because of the kind of relaxing effects that Apigenin can have.
Gotcha. And the reason for that is to inhibit CD38, which is this consumer of NAD.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say control rather than inhibit, because CD38 is necessary, but it's like I was mentioning earlier, things like NAD, AKG, they decrease as we age, and CD38 increases, and it's an NADase, which means it feeds on NAD. So the more it increases, the less NAD you have, which is obviously an issue, as we know.
Yeah, and high amounts of CD38 is considered or thought to be, one of the biggest reasons why this NAD levels decrease with age. So.
Yeah, precisely. So when it comes to NAD, it's always best to take that two-pronged approach. So control the CD38 and boost the levels of NAD itself.
Apigenin is one. Quercetin is also, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, but similar to quercetin being a senolytic, it's relatively. So if ficitin is this good at being a senolytic, quercetin's this good. Okay. And it's the same way as if apigenin's this good at controlling the CD38, quercetin's this good. Quercetin's a fantastic supplement, but it tends to have a small effect on many different pathways rather than one large effect.
Right, gotcha. One supplement, that you do provide is resveratrol, but personally, I'm not taking it, and I think that I can explain like why, or one of the biggest reasons is probably that I haven't seen like enough evidence in humans, especially, that it would help with having like an anti-aging effect. And when it comes to like exercise performance, then that actually has been also seen in humans to have like a negative effect on VO2 max, and I think it's also going to have like a negative effect on like muscle hypertrophy and muscle strength side if you're taking it around the training. So that's the reason why I'm not taking it. Any thoughts about?
And I think the thing with that is, like, when I spoke to David about it, obviously David is probably the biggest, most famous proponent of resveratrol. He was adamant, and I've looked at the studies, and it has been proven that it does activate Saturn1. So if you believe in activating Saturns, then I believe you should believe in resveratrol. But I also understand that everything's not going to be for everybody. There are other people that have said they don't want to take that product. Some people, we have take it every other day, because there was some of the rodent data showed that every other day was even more beneficial. So, everyone's going to be different, aren't they? But I still take my resveratrol every day.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe like I think it's the same with rapamycin. Like it obviously has like some benefits for some cases, and I would I'm not like I don't think it's going to be harmful if you take it every once in a while. I think it has like a net positive effect if you take it like maybe like I don't know, once a month or something for an average person. And the same with like resveratrol as well, probably. Like I don't think that you should be like a daily supplement, personally, for me at least. And but I think like maybe a few times a week or a month probably has its benefits. Like there are the way I look at it is there are like days where I'm like being quote unquote anabolic and pro muscle growth and pro hypertrophy and recovery and strength and those things, which in excess can be problematic for aging, but in moderation are also very good for aging. Like you want to have muscle and strength for aging as well. And on the other hand, there are days where I'm like more catabolic, more like these longevity pathways that are not necessarily going to help you build muscle, but they do have like this benefits on autophagy and DNA repair. And
so I think I do a similar thing, but I do it daily. So I'll have a period in the day where it's about building, I'm eating something probably high protein. That's usually in the morning for me, and then I'll be taking the relevant supplements for that, and then maybe I'll have a period of 12 hours where I'm not eating, and I might take XYZ. So I think we're doing similar things, just maybe on a different time scale.
Yeah, I do it on a daily basis as well. Like there's the fasting window and there's the eating window, but on a macro scale, I do it also like a few longer periods, like maybe like a week or something, like where I'm deliberately more catabolic or deliberately more anabolic. And I think that's I think that's a key to this seeing progress in all the things that you do. especially like in training as well as like the maybe anti-aging side. If you're trying
Yeah.
to like do everything at once, you're trying to build muscle at once and strength and trying to improve your biomarkers and have like do all these different kinds of anti-aging interventions, then you may like end up spinning your wheels a bit. But if you like cycle them, then I think that's the key of
Oh yeah, definitely. The body either wants to be building or repairing, so
yeah.
You have to choose one rather than being one foot in both camps.
Yeah, I'll maybe like briefly give my supplement and this routine, which actually people can also check out from my like supplement list at cmont.com/supplements, where I just list out all the supplements and when I take them as well. So like in the morning, after waking up, I'm in this fasted state, and I'm already having gone through a lot of the liver glycogen, and my body's in this state of semi-ketosis, and all these longevity pathways also turn on in a like dose dependent manner after that fast, or the longer you fast. So like 12-hour 14-hour fast, then I'm kind of wanting to push the gas on the longevity pathways, like these things that put like this small amount of stress to the body and actually turn on these antioxidant defense systems and cell recycling. So all the NMN and sulfura boost, calcium alpha ketoglutarate, and fisetin, all those supplements will be that I consume in the morning usually to kind of help to drive those pathways or support them. And around like midday, where I'm starting to work out soon, then I'll like switch it a little bit. Like I'll incorporate some aminos and even like HMB and those supplements that help to like slow down that process a little bit, to slow down the catabolism and switch more towards this muscle repair and recovery and maintenance. And then in the evening after I work out, then I'll I have like a protein shake as well before the workout, but workout, and then afterwards in the meal I'll have like food that has protein, and depending on the day, like I may have like more plant-based, more animal-based, higher carb, lower carb. That depends on the day. But like after that is where I'll like switching over from this complete catabolic side into like this anabolic mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does make sense.
What's your routine like in that sense?
At the minute, it's all over the place. But yeah, usually it's things like NMN in the morning, and then obviously you've got the morning workout. So if I ever miss if I don't get my workout in the morning, then I usually don't end up doing the workout, just because of how my diary and how my schedule is. So and even nowadays, because I'm always in hotels, the workout has to change anyway, depending on how good the gym is in the hotel. And then obviously you start taking your supplements. So I'll take the resveratrol then. I'll take the fisetin. I'll take the quercetin. There's a few floaters as well that you can kind of take at any time. So things like the hyaluronic acid, I don't think that matters too much. It doesn't seem to make too much of a difference to me when I take it. So I'll take that a couple of hours after. After that first meal as well, there will also be, just before it, there'll be spermidine. And then just after it, there'll be SIRT6 activator. And then I'll usually eat a few hours later. And then my eating window is at the minute, it's been a bit stretched, but it's usually 4 to 5 hours. So have that big protein meal straight after the workout. And then a few hours later, have another meal, make sure there's plenty of veggies and things like that in there. Also some protein as well. And that's when I'll take my next lot of SIRT6 activator, because again, I take quite a high dosage of that. Okay. And then that'll be when I take my vitamin D, vitamin K, and magnesium blended product as well. And then later on in the evening, then I've got a couple of other things that I take, and a few other products from other brands as well. So, and I, at the minute, I'm still trying to work out where my collagen fits. So I'm taking it at different times, or some days I'll miss it because I've got, 10-minute window until my next meeting or until I've got to go somewhere. And because it's not as easy as just putting a capsule in your mouth and swallowing it, I'll be like, I've got to get stuff out, pour it in and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely need to get into a routine with that. But that's something that DoNotAge.org preaches anyway, is a massive, having a routine is huge, because it means that you won't forget to do it. The amount of people that I've spoken to that have said, I've stopped feeling XYZ benefit. Can you help me out? And then one of the team or myself will speak to them individually, and they'll say, oh yeah, but I've been struggling with it. I missed it for 3 days, and then I missed it for another 4 days, then I forgot. And then once you're out of the habit, it's very difficult. And so, yeah, I'm not in the habit with collagen yet because it's so new and because I've had this crazy schedule. So hopefully within a few weeks, I'll be more settled down and be able to get into a routine.
Right. Yeah, I think collagen is great. Like when I've looked at the research, then I think that if you took it before a workout and then did resistance training, then it did improve bone density. But like it kind of goes specifically to those targeted joints. But if you take it like overall, and whenever, then it still has like a positive effect on the ligaments and tendon recovery as well. So yeah, I think whenever you can is probably best. It's just not gonna be. It's just not gonna be like quote unquote anabolic. like collagen doesn't doesn't have leucine and doesn't have other essential aminos that you need to trigger protein synthesis. So it's not going to be useful for that, but obviously it's useful for the joints and ligaments and tendons. So yeah, whenever if you eat collagen post-workout, then you would want to make sure that you have like the other aminos present as well, whether from a meal or like other shake, like a whey or other protein.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully most people that are working out, particularly with a strength workout or with a very intense workout, are going to be consuming some calories after that anyway. I would hope so.
Yeah, of course, I think so. Yeah. Any other like new trials, something that you're working on?
Well, like I say, there's always lots in the pipeline. We're testing out something called urolithin A at the moment. But again, that's watch this space kind of stuff. And then there's also something called astaxanthin as well that we're looking at. So we think they're going to be. We think that we're confident about both of them, but you never know until you get the results. So I'm hopeful that before the end of the year we can have another ingredient that's going to help people. I'm actually taking astaxanthin at the moment. That's one of the things I mentioned I'm taking from another brand, and I've seen some research, but I've also heard lots of people tell me that their sunburn is reduced when they take astaxanthin. And obviously I'm in a lot of hot countries at the moment, so I'm taking it, and I'm not sunburnt yet, so not sure how clinical that trial is, but it seems to be working fine.
Yeah, well, funny enough, like your NMN levels also determine whether or not you get sunburn or UV damage. So there is like last year I saw a study in mice that that NMN was like the determining factor whether or not they got skin damage from the sun. So like with high level, basically like when sun causes UV radiation or causes oxidative stress and that damage to the skin, and in order to basically counteract that, your body needs again like these defense systems, and NMN and NAD are the ones, or NAD specifically would be like the one that is like used for counteracting that oxidative stress that you get from the sun as well. So
yeah, and I think that's, like I say about a lot of things, that's what happens when you fix the upstream causes of aging. The downstream symptoms that are fixed are going to be numerous, so like for example the eyesight thing, when you take NMN, you're not going near your eyes, you're putting something into your body, but because of that upstream, then we see the downstream benefit. And it sounds like it's going to be the same for UV damage as well.
Yeah, I think many people know about astaxanthin, so it's this like lipid or fat, and that is used. It does have like basically protects against oxidative stress in the skin. Many people have reported that as well. But what about the other one that you mentioned, the urolithin A?
Yeah, so urolithin A it looks like it may benefit the mitochondria, but again, I don't want to say too much until we know more, because the last thing you want is to get people's hopes up and then obviously the trial ends and it doesn't work out that way. So yeah, that's something that people can watch this space. Anyone that's on our email list, just go to donotage.org, scroll to the bottom, there's a little box where you can put your email in. The results of all these kind of trials are emailed out regularly. So if anybody's interested and wants to know more, that's the best way to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, where can people maybe learn about these trials, or where can they read them? Is there like, does your website have like a list of all the studies and things that you've done?
DoNotAge.org, the website is the kind of been the consumer facing side of it. So we do have a science page where you can look at some studies mostly based on the ingredients, plus things like fasting and exercise and stuff like that. But we are looking at the end of this year probably to update the website and start having like a research page, just a page to do with the research that we've directly involved with, because when, like I say, that DoNotAge.org was set up as the consumer facing page, so we're letting the public purchase the ingredients that we're working on, and then now I think we're building up this body of work. We're about ready to have a page that's dedicated just to the things that we've done ourselves. So for example, there'd be a lot of SIRT6 activator stuff on there. That's to give one example. Yeah,
the page is very comprehensive in the sense, or you have the references all listed out there. So it's donotage.org/science. So you can check.
Yeah, that's right.
Size, autophagy, NAD, CD38, sirtuins, TMG, resveratrol, quercetin. Yeah, like everything is kind of listed out there with the references to studies. So if you already
if anyone's got any specific questions, then they can just email hello@donotAge.org, and then obviously one of the team will be able to get back to them. A lot of people do email in and say, I have XYZ disease or condition, what should I take? Please still email us if you want some advice, but we can't give medical advice. So the response to those kind of emails is always speak to your doctor, because we're not allowed to sort of treat or diagnose. But the science page should answer a lot of things for a lot of people. And if anyone's got any specific questions, hello@donotAge.org.
And DoNotAge, where do you deliver? Worldwide, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the mission for the organization is to extend healthy lifespan for as many people as possible. So in order to achieve that, we need to make sure we deliver to every country. And recently we've introduced hubs as well around the world. So to help people reduce the taxes and fees. So for example, where are the most common areas? USA, European Union, Australia. Anybody that purchases from us in those areas doesn't have to pay any taxes and fees. And that's the case for the majority of the world. There's a few countries where there's nothing you can do about it. So like India, for example, if you import stuff to India, there is a small charge, but the vast majority of people don't have any taxes and fees to pay. So we're always trying to remove as much friction as we can and make it as easy as possible for people to get their hands on these beneficial ingredients.
Yeah, I'm also like very excited about your company and the products that you provide. And it's very good to have like a transparent company that actually, tests out or make sure that the ingredients are what they say they are, as well as base the products themselves on the science themselves. Like you have a huge research team behind you, and make sure you actually test your products basically in studies, which is very new for a supplement company, but it should be like somewhat like mandatory almost.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, what I'm trying to do on a personal level is be the example. Like I want there to be 10 DoNotAge.orgs in a few years' time, you know what I mean? And so that we actually have some genuine competition. And I mean, we would just collaborate with them. You know what I mean? We would collaborate with them and say, right, you share the results of your research, we'll share ours. Let's all, because we're all working towards the same thing, right? We all want to solve the complex aging problem. So the more resources are going into that pool, the faster we're going to get there. So
yeah, that's awesome. And people can check it out at donotAge.org, but where can people learn more about you and your work?
I mean, I don't really do social media or anything like that, but maybe in another 6 months we can have another podcast and I'll have some news, because I've just started working on a project. I can't reveal too much, but there's lots of exciting things in the pipeline. It's something I'm doing from a personal perspective rather than a DoNotAge.org perspective. So we'll be able to talk about that next time. That means people have to stay subscribed to your YouTube channel.
That sounds good. Well, it was great talking with you, and I'm looking forward to having like another update, maybe like in 6 months or so.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks very much, Seem. Keep up the good work.
Alright, that's it for this episode. As a reminder, you can get the free copy of my metabolic autophagy ebook if you use the code SEAM and buy NMN from donotage.org. So head over to donotage.org and use the code SEAM to also get a 10% discount. Other than that, thanks for listening to this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Stay empowered.